Ever get that feeling when you're laying down a track and the timing just feels off, like your music is kind of stuck?
Mm-hmm.
Well, today we're diving deep into digital performers' time formats. They're your secret weapon for getting things perfectly in sync, right? So the music grooves the way you hear it in your head.
Yeah, make it all come together.
Exactly. We're talking about, cracking the code on those terms that you might have seen lurking in the DP manual.
Oh, yeah.
Like measure time, real time, even that mysterious SMPTE.
Right. Those are important.
But trust me, it's way less intimidating than it sounds. By the end of this, you'll be a DP time-bending maestro.
That's right. You will be. What's so fascinating is that DP gives us all these different ways of looking at time. Each one has its own strength.
Okay.
It's like having a toolkit.
I like that.
Full of precision instruments, ready to tackle any timing challenge you can throw at them.
I'm ready for that challenge.
All right.
Okay, let's unpack this toolkit, starting with the time format that feels most natural to us music folks.
Mm-hmm.
Measure time.
Yeah.
It's essentially our musical home base in DP.
Yeah, it is.
Just like sheet music.
Exactly. Think of it this way. You've got your measures, the building blocks of your song structure. Within each measure, you've got your beats, setting the pulse. And then we zoom in even further to those tiny subdivisions called ticks.
Ticks? So we talking like tick-tock of a clock, but way faster.
Sort of, yeah. Ticks in DP are these incredibly precise subdivisions of a beat. And here's the key. The more ticks per quarter note you have, the finer your control over timing, especially for MIDI editing. Imagine drawing a curve on your computer. More points mean a smoother, more accurate curve, right? Ticks are like those points, giving you that ultimate shaping power for your MIDI notes.
Gotcha. So more ticks, smoother MIDI edits make sense. Now, the DP manual mentions a default of 480 ticks per quarter note.
480.
What's the deal with that?
Well, 480 ticks is an excellent starting point. It offers a good balance between accuracy and processing power. Think of it as like a default zoom level that's comfortable for most musical situations. Need to nudge that snare drum hit by a hair.
Yeah.
480 ticks will give you plenty of wiggle room.
That's reassuring to know.
Right.
But what about those times when we need to sync our music to, the real world, like clocks and calendars?
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
That's where real time comes in. Think of it as DP's way of understanding, the hours, minutes, and seconds we live by. It's how DP measures the overall length of your song, keeps track of things like default start times.
So if I want my song to start exactly 2 seconds in, real time helps me do that.
Precisely. But what happens when you want to sync your music to video? Now you're stepping into the world of film and TV. They speak a slightly different language. It's called frame time.
Ah, frame time. Sounds kind of intimidating. Is this where SMPTE comes in? That code I always see in video editing software?
You got it. SMPTE is the time code language of film and video. It uses frames per second. Like those little still images that make up a moving picture to keep everything in sync.
Okay, starting to make sense. But why do movies sometimes look different on TV? Is that connected to these frames?
You're sharp.
Yeah.
It often comes down to different frame rates. Movies are typically shot at 24 frames per second.
Okay.
While some TV broadcasts use 29.97.
Huh.
It's a subtle difference, but it can affect how smooth the motion appears.
Wow, so even those tiny frame rate differences impact what we see.
They do.
And hear. And DP helps us make sure everything aligns perfectly.
Absolutely. Think about it. You're composing a score for a film, and you need a dramatic cymbal crash to hit at the exact moment a car explodes on screen.
Yeah.
Frame time makes sure your music hits the mark.
This is blowing my mind.
Yeah.
Who knew timing could be so nuanced?
It's wild, isn't it?
Okay, so we've tackled measures, beats, ticks, even those movie magic frames.
We've covered a lot.
But what about the audio itself?
Right.
Like the actual sound waves, how does DP handle those with such precision?
That's where samples come in. Think of them as the microscopic building blocks of digital audio.
Okay.
Just like a digital image is made up of pixels, right?
Yeah.
Your audio is built from thousands upon thousands of these tiny samples.
So if I zoom in like really, really close on an audio waveform in DP, I'm seeing those individual samples.
Precisely. And what's really impressive is that DP works with audio at a sample accurate level.
Wow.
This means when you make an edit, like you're slicing a drum loop or fading out a track, you're cutting and shaping your audio with unbelievable precision.
That's the kind of control I need in my life. No more messy edits, just surgical precision.
Exactly. And this sample accurate editing it has a huge impact on the final sound.
Hmm.
It's the difference between a clean, professional sound and one that's muddy or slightly out of sync.
Makes total sense. So whether we're talking about MIDI notes
Yeah.
or those tiny audio samples,
Right.
DP is keeping everything aligned with incredible accuracy.
Right.
It's like having a microscopic grid, ensuring everything lands perfectly in place.
I like that analogy, the microscopic grid, yeah. Speaking of precision, let's loop back to a term we talked about earlier, PPQ,
Yes.
or parts per quarter note.
Right, PPQ.
This one's near and dear to my heart, especially when it comes to finessing MIDI.
PPQ. Yeah, that sounds like something you'd adjust with a really tiny screwdriver.
It really does.
So higher PCQ means we can really zoom in and fine-tune those MIDI events.
You're getting it. PPQ is like adjusting the magnification on your musical microscope. A higher PPQ setting gives you a finer grid to work with, allowing you to place those MIDI notes with incredible accuracy.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this all connects. Let's say I'm working on a drum track, and I want to nudge the hi-hat hits ever so slightly ahead of the beat for a little bit of extra groove.
Yeah, love it.
Is that where PPQ comes in?
Exactly. Imagine you're using a magnifying glass to perfectly align, like a mosaic tile.
Okay.
With a higher PPQ, you can make those minute adjustments to the timing of your MIDI notes, giving you that subtle push and pull that brings your music to life.
So we're talking about micro adjustments that can make a huge difference in the feel.
Absolutely.
But hold on a second. If I crank up the PPQ to some crazy high number,
Yeah.
will it affect the actual audio quality when I'm recording?
That's a question I get a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a common misconception. Here's the key thing to remember. PPQ is all about editing resolution, not audio resolution.
Okay.
It dictates how precisely you can place MIDI events, but it doesn't change the underlying quality of your audio recordings whatsoever.
Okay, that's a huge relief. So
Yeah.
no matter how high I crank that PPQ,
Exactly.
my audio is safe.
Absolutely. Think of it this way. Imagine you're drawing a perfectly straight line.
Okay.
You can draw that line with a thick marker or a superfine pen.
Right.
The line itself is still perfectly straight. You're just able to define its position with more precision using the Viner pen. PPQ is like choosing your pen.
Okay.
It's about control and precision in your MIDI editing,
Yeah.
not the quality of the sound itself.
That analogy makes it crystal clear.
Good.
Now, I'm curious, what are some common PPQ settings people use, and is there like a best one?
Great question. The truth is, the ideal PPQ setting depends on your workflow and the kind of music you're creating.
Okay.
For example, if you're working with, like, heavily quantized electronic music where those grid-like rhythms are key, a lower PPQ like 96 might be perfectly sufficient.
Makes sense. You're not necessarily going for those super subtle timing variations in that context.
Exactly. But if you're working with live instruments or you're really aiming to capture the nuance of a human performance,
Yeah.
cranking up that PPQ to 1920 or even higher can make a world of difference.
Yeah.
It allows you to capture those subtle timing variations that give the music its feel, give it that groove.
So it's all about choosing the right tool for the job.
Yeah.
Lower PPQ for that tight, locked-in feel. Higher PPQ when you want to get into those micro grooves. Now, the DP manual mentions it can go up to 10,000 PPQ, which just sounds insane. Do people actually use that?
Honestly,
Huh.
10,000 PPQ is getting into, like, the territory of theoretical physics.
Right.
While it's awesome that DP offers that level of granularity,
Right.
in practical terms, most of us won't need to go anywhere near that high.
It's like DP is saying, hey, we know you need options.
Right.
From electronica to orchestral scores, go wild.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
It's almost like learning a whole new language, the language of DP time.
And like any language, the more fluent you become,
Right.
the more you can express with it. That's what excites me about DP's time features. They're not just technical specifications, they're creative tools
Yeah.
waiting to be explored.
I'm with you. It's like having a whole arsenal of sonic tools at your fingertips, and knowing how to use them can really unlock some exciting possibilities.
Absolutely. Think about like those custom time displays we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Let's say you're working on a project that involves a lot of back and forth between MIDI and audio.
Okay.
You could customize your display to show both measured time and SMPTE time code simultaneously.
Okay.
That way, you're seamlessly moving between your musical structure and those precise video cues.
That's brilliant. It's like having a dual language dictionary right there in your DAW. making those transitions between different ways of thinking about time totally effortless.
Precisely. And here's something else to chew on. Remember how we talked about the importance of sample-accurate editing?
Yeah.
For clean, professional audio?
Yep.
Well, understanding DP's time formats can help you take that even further.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Okay, so let's say you're working with a vocal track, and there's a tiny bit of pre-recorded audio, before the downbeat, that's throwing off the groove.
Yeah.
With your understanding of samples and ticks, you could zoom in super close and nudge that audio region by just a few samples, tightening up the timing without affecting the pitch.
Wow.
It's like microsurgery for your audio.
That's next level editing. It's amazing how these seemingly small adjustments, these minute shifts in time, can make such a huge difference in the overall feel of a track.
It's true.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about music production. It's all about manipulating time and sound to create something truly special. And DP gives us the tools to do it with unbelievable precision and flexibility.
So as our listeners dive back into their DP projects, what's the one key takeaway you want them to remember about mastering time in their music?
Don't be afraid to experiment. Play around with different time formats, customize those displays, and see how these tools can spark new creative ideas. You never know what happy accidents might occur when you start bending time to your will.
I love that. It's a reminder that music production isn't just about following the rules. It's about pushing boundaries and exploring the outer limits of what's possible. And DP is the perfect playground for that kind of sonic exploration. Well, there you have it, folks. We've journeyed deep into the heart of DP's time system, and hopefully you've come away feeling empowered to conquer any timing challenge that comes your way. Remember, whether you're working in measures, frames, or those super precise ticks, DP has your back. So go forth and make some amazing music.
And never stop exploring those time-bending possibilities.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That's a wrap on this deep dive into digital performers' time formats. Until next time, happy music making, everyone.